tornado sirens right now. Wow. What's up, everybody? Eric here, Driveline, world's okayest steering wheel holder. I'm about to get rolling, but I wanted to bust out a quick video. Trying really hard to keep the videos flowing. I appreciate all the views on the last one. I appreciate all the support. If you haven't seen the last video, I highly recommend you go back and watch the one before this. I suspect that a lot of you have experienced that kind of situation, and it turns out a lot of you had. So a lot of good advice there, especially the 5-gallon bucket thing. So I'm gonna say some things in this video, and you super truckers out there, I love the super trucker comments, man. You can spot them from a mile away. Oh, you're just a greenhorn, you're just a newbie. What do you mean you've seen, oh yeah, 5-6 years, you're just getting started. Man, y'all super truckers can just keep your super trucker, like it's you realize we just mock you, right? We can, like, there's two camps that deserve being mocked. There's the real newbies in their first 12 months who act like they've got a good grip on this industry, and then there's the super trucker who's been out there for 15 years that think that anyone who's driven a truck a day less than them is a rookie. I ain't a veteran, you know, I haven't been driving for 20 years. I'm not, I don't know everything, but it cracks me up when I have people come and, you know, who are you to say this, or who are you don't know nothing. You only been driving for 6 years. You don't know nothing. All right, super truckers, we get it. You're a super trucker. So anyway, so I expect a few of those in this video, but what I want to talk about is weather, because now I'm not a weather expert, but I've always been fascinated with the weather. I've got probably 15 weather apps on my phone. I watch weather live streams or listen to them while I'm driving, and I'm absolutely convinced that this thunderstorm season, like, there's something weird, man. I don't know if it's HARP. I don't know. I'm not like tinfoil hat in this, but there's something weird. Now, I believe in climate change, but I believe climate change has happened since the earth existed. You know, there was climate change during the time of dinosaurs. Climate change, the climate's always changing. We've had ice ages, and we've had, you know, solar flares, all that stuff for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. But this year is definitely something. My APU is just screaming too, by the way. I just ran my microwave, ate some breakfast burritos, had the AC going because it got a little humid after I came back from my shower. It's humid in here, so hopefully my APU shuts off here shortly. I apologize if you hear the hum. But so I just went through, I'm about to leave, I'm in St. Louis at the moment, just went through some pretty gnarly weather. Last night, and this morning, at about 6 a.m., I went through several supercells. The night before, I drove for like 8 hours, and damn near the entire 8 hours was through severe thunderstorms. I can only think of 2 days in the past 2 weeks that I haven't encountered some sort of wind, hail, tornado watch, tornado warning type of event in the middle of the night. 2 nights that I can think of. It's just been nonstop, and it's not like a, you know, just one line up the middle of the country. It's like one line, and then up ahead of that's this big swirl, I mean, it's like right now, I think there's like 9-10 states under the gun. Right now, there's very severe tornadoes right this moment. I had sirens going off here at this Love's for about an hour, sirens, and there was a tornado just south of me. There was one that developed just east of me. It's crazy, man. I don't know what it is, but now you 15-year super truckers, oh, that's, you know, weather, it's tornado season. Look, this is not normal. I was raised in Tornado Alley. I lived in Chicago for 10 years and dealt with, you know, all the stuff that was moving through. Like I'm not new to tornado season. The path of these storms, the way that they're so widespread now this year, it's just different. Like it's just different. But anyway, I went through 2 weeks ago. I didn't mention this, but 2 weeks, I haven't mentioned this in a previous video, but 2 weeks ago, just maybe 2.5, 3 weeks, I went through the scariest 10 minutes since I've been driving a truck. By far. And I've driven in blizzards, and I've driven in all of it. I've run from hurricanes. It was the scariest 10 minutes that I've been. It was so scary that my right leg was shaking and it was hard to hold the fuel pedal down. That's how scary it was. I fully expected at any given moment that I was going to be hit by a tornado. To set this up, I was bobtail. I had just dropped a load somewhere over north of Memphis and was on my way, I don't know, somewhere else. Anyway, I had to go through Little Rock. And I was bobtail. And I knew that there were going to be storms. I just talked to Jenna about it when I was dropping that trailer off. In fact, Prime wanted me to pick up a broken empty trailer at that facility that I dropped a load off and drag it down to the yard, the drop yard in Memphis. But the wind was picking up and I knew there were storms, and I was not a big fan of the idea. It would be an empty trailer. But it ended up that it wasn't, I mean, I don't have to do it. So I was starting to ask, you know, what's the pay going to be for this? Because it was out of the way. Turns out they were loading the trailer anyway at the customer, so it ended up not being an issue. But the wind was starting to pick up, and I knew that stuff was going to go sideways, right? So I get to a road ranger a little bit west of, like, between Memphis and Little Rock. And I'm bobtail, so I'm thinking, well, I can park here if it's really, really bad. So I'll look up the radar and everything. And it looked like it had to be perfection, but it looked like I'd be able to scoot through Little Rock and then get southwest of Little Rock in just enough time. Like it looked like I'd be able to beat it. And that's a dangerous game. Let me just tell you right now, that's a dangerous game. I learned my lesson that night. If you're looking at radar and you think, okay, this is a tornado watched storm, and if I do everything right, I can probably beat it by 5 or 10 miles. That is probably not a good idea. That's a big roll of the dice. And I rolled the dice. And about, I would say 10, 15 miles out of Little Rock, you know, when you're coming from Memphis, you get on a bypass in Little Rock and go down to, 20? I think it's 20. Southwest of Little Rock. And so as I'm approaching the bypass, maybe 10, 15 miles out from the bypass, the sky just starts lighting up. And I have radar on my Garmin because my Garmin's hooked to my Wi-Fi, so I've got radar on my Garmin. So I'm watching this thing in real time, and it's coming at me, and I'm coming at it. Like, we're just head on. It's coming from the southwest towards Little Rock, and I'm headed from the northeast towards Little Rock. But it looks like I'm gonna make it, you know. So I get on a bypass, and then right there where you get off the bypass in South Little Rock, it suddenly became apparent that I wasn't gonna clear it. It became very apparent, both in my big screen TV HD TV right in front of me, as well as the Garmin. It was kind of a OF moment, right? And so I'm just pedal down. Now I'm governed at 65, but I'm just pedal down, you know, just racing the radar. I got stuff happening in the sky above me. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this would be south of Little Rock, between Little Rock and Hot Springs. My Garmin says tornado warning. Right at the top, there's a little bar. It says tornado warning. And the second that I saw that say tornado warning, all hell broke loose all around me. And I was at the south edge of what I could see was the gnarly part of that storm. I mean, just like you could, the dot was right at the edge of that storm. And the trucks in front of me, it just started raining and wind. There's like branches coming across the interstate, and all the trucks in front of me stopped underneath the damn overpass. I was so pissed. So pissed. Because I feel like if we'd just been able to just power through at 65, this thing was coming from it'd be my right, and would go behind me. You know, that was kind of what it was showing on radar. So I was just trying to, you know, just go. It's coming right from our right. Just go. And all these trucks just stop. All the way across the interstate, they just stop right underneath the overpass. And we're blocked. We can't move. We can't go anywhere. So we're all just sitting there with our four-way flashers on. And man, we took a beating. It was, the hail was bigger than golf ball size, and it was hitting, because I was bobtail, it was hitting the back of the cab, it was hitting, just slamming the side of the cab, it was hitting my windshield, the hood, the top, just, and then in front of me, I could only barely see the trailers in front of me with their four-way flashers, and wind whipping across, and branches coming across, and the tractor just rocking back and forth. I thought for sure that the tornado that I think was behind me, just to the north of me, and I don't know, it had to have been close, probably 100 yards, maybe 200 yards, because it was tornado warned. When I got further south and pulled over just to check my truck for damage, I looked it up, and a tornado had just passed through there. So, but that moment, and then one of the trucks finally started inching forward and made a hole. And so I just gunned it around the other trucks that were just all trying to jam up and hide underneath this overpass. I'm not really sure. I guess they're hiding from the hail. I don't know. But my leg was shaking so much. Like I fully expected that at any second a tornado was coming right over my truck. So it's just not that was too big of a risk. And I learned some things. Now, I never would have done it if I had an empty trailer. Shouldn't have done a bobtail, but I never would have done it if I had an empty trailer. And probably wouldn't have done it with a loaded trailer either, to be honest with you. In fact, now I wouldn't do it at all. But it's just, you know, when you've got these situations that we've got right now, you really have to be attentive. Jem, who drives our Peterbilt, he's parked right now. He's somewhere in North Georgia or something. I'm not sure where he is, but he's got tornadoes all around him. He's shut down. You got to really pay attention to this stuff, because it's not like previous years where it's like, well, you know, I got 40,000 pounds. You know, if there's hail, I can pull over. I've got some weight. I'll just charge through this cell and then we'll move on. It's one after another. It's not just that one front. Stuff is developing. You see the front line in the radar, and then as it moves, all these supercells are like developing after it. So it's not just charging through this little line. Like this morning, from 6 a.m. to 8:15 a.m., I had a heavy trailer, and it was very low. It was 5-gallon buckets full of chocolate. So I had a heavy trailer, and the pallets were only like 4 feet high. It was one supercell after another. There was no just front line. I would charge through one, and then there's another, and then there's another. Now those weren't tornado warned, but they were severe thunderstorms, hail and wind, and you know. I mean, you just really have to pay attention. And when there's outbreaks like this, if there's tornado watches, it seems to me that the likelihood is much higher this year that watches become warnings than in the past. In the past, you'd have like this little pocket where it would be like the Torcon, I think is what they call it, is high in that little pocket, and then it's orange, and then it's yellow, and it's green. Now that is like that small. Those small pockets are much wider. You got to pay real close attention to that and not risk it for the biscuit. That was the scariest 10 minutes that I've experienced since driving a truck. This psychological turmoil of just sitting there taking it. Bobtail in the middle of an interstate. And also I was concerned about traffic coming from behind me, because these idiots had just blocked the whole interstate. So I couldn't even, I couldn't move to the right. I couldn't get past them and move to the right. I was just sitting right out in the middle of the interstate, trapped. It was terrifying, man. I use super truckers. Oh, you're a steering wheel holder. You're weak. In my day, we drove through hurricanes. Whatever, man. Y'all super truck along. I'm saying in my real world, that was a terrifying experience. Didn't come from a severe blizzard, and I've driven through all that. Didn't come from, that kind of stuff. It came from a tornado warned supercell that I got caught right smack in the worst part of it. Crazy. I wouldn't wish that on my greatest enemy. It was just not okay. It was not okay. I mean, I had to pull over. Like I said, I got south of there and checked my whole truck. I was certain I had hail damage, but I didn't. I don't know how my windshield didn't crack, because I was just watching huge chunks of ice just explode on my windshield, my hood, my mirrors. It was slapping that window so hard, just crack, 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 hitting the back. And because I was bobtail, I could hear it hitting the top of the APU. I could hear it hitting the catwalk. Oh man. So I got over and just when I got pulled over after that, inspected my truck to make sure there's no damage, and I just walked for a few minutes, man. I was just like, wow. Almost 100% certain that a tornado was probably 100 yards away from me. That moment when the rain is sideways and you're just getting annihilated with hail, and then you start seeing branches come across, I thought, oh, this is it, man. Any second, this is it. I regret that I couldn't have my camera on, but man, in that moment, I just had so much fear in me that was the last thing on my mind. The last thing on my mind was clicks or good video footage or trying to get my phone out to film this. I was just like in that moment, just like, how is this gonna feel going over? That was, yeah, like I'm like putting my phone in my pocket. I put the parking brake, pop the brake, and was just bracing for impact. Terrible. So I don't know, man. I would love to know your thoughts on this season. To me, it just feels like this is just off the charts crazy. And I think it's going to calm down here over the next week or two, I think, after this stuff is done tonight. But man, this past month has just been, like I said, I think over the last 2 weeks, I can only think of 2 nights that I haven't had to charge through some shit. You know what I mean? Anyway, be safe, make good decisions, always drive, thrive. Talk to y'all soon.